Hey Montel, this is Rebecca Lane, your CRP instructor, and I wanted to give you a little bit of feedback on your presentation. Okay, so first of all, I like that you've got this big picture here, and you are using a lot of image-centric work. I think that's a really good start. I want to encourage you to use high-quality images the whole time. See how this image looks pretty pixelated? So that, in general, that design isn't going to make you shine as much. Um, Same thing with these. Notice that there's like a little bit of tiny text, and this is even smaller. Um, what would happen if these were two slides, one after the other, right? Um, so start to think about how you are organizing this visual design. I also want to recommend that you use a different color background. I recommend using black as opposed to um, black background as opposed to a white background, because when I play a black background, um, what that means is like assuming this background is black, so we can go through the whole slideshow. When I push play on this, that will disappear. So it looks a little more crisp. You see what I mean? Um, with these, you're going to want to hide these or make these small. Um, you can hide it behind a picture by sending it backward. That way we're not seeing the actual icon, which just looks a little bit nicer. And when you are recording this, what I recommend you do is go ahead and do a QuickTime video of your screen as you click through your slides and as you speak over those slides, so you can get that in real time, so that we can really get a feel for how your voice and your storytelling interacts with the pictures that you're showing us. But by using this black background, you make it a lot more crisp. I also recommend centering. If you're only going to have one image, I recommend centering it on the screen. That looks a little bit more intentional. If you're going to put this to the side, then I would recommend finding some text to supplement what you're saying and putting that there. Okay? And of course, you would color the text white so that it would pop on top of the black, right? Okay, so let's look a little bit at your content. I want to remind you the purpose of this presentation. The purpose of this presentation is to pitch yourself to a future employer. So at the top of your presentation, it feels like you are doing that. But then as you continue to go through this presentation, you start to get into what you're going to do when you get money. And that doesn't really tell me what you bring to the table. Like, what kind of music do you make? Like you say, you're really happiest behind the mixing board. So what kind of music do you make? What kind of beats do you make? What do you like to work with in a team? Because if I'm going to pay you to do a thing, if I'm going to pay you to make a beat or pay you to record a song or pay you to write something, first of all, you're working on a team. Second of all, I'm wanting your original artistic vision, so I'd like to have an idea for what that is. So all of the cars and the money and the Grammys, that's all stuff that happens after, like long after. But first we have to do the work. And this presentation isn't about the Grammys and the cars, it's about the work and what you're like to work with and the kind of work you produce. And I know it's Grammy Award winning work, but what is it beyond that? You know what I mean? So all of the planning that you did earlier in your earlier presentation, Like all of the planning, like this pitch right here, this assignment number 2, like that feeds into what this presentation is. You're not making something totally new. You're really feeding into it and building on it. So I'd like you to focus a lot more on your audience here. Like, who is going to pay you to do this? Is there a specific studio you want to work for? Is there a specific songwriter you want to work for? Do you want to work in radio? Do you want to work in recording? Do you want to work in LA? Do you want to work in New York? Like, what's your goal? Who are you working with? You want to work in Atlanta? And start to name things. So here is an example. Is this the example? Yeah. Here's an example that was available in one of the announcements. And this is a guy who wants, his name is Connor Adams, and he wants to work for ProSubs.
Worked for himself.
So he's using a slideshow. See this? All these transitions.
And that's why I
he's using still images.
Want to represent ProSubs.
And he does a couple of things here. First of all, he mentions ProSubs. So that's the company, the very specific company he wants to work for. And what does he want to do for them? He wants to represent them. So he wants to be a figure that goes out and talks to people about ProSubs, right? And as we go through this, you'll see he's got a lot of still images. He's really making the text a graphic part. He's using personal photographs. And he's really taking us through his personal journey through the military and all of that. Okay, so we are looking for you to do something like that. So let me know if you have questions. I really look forward to seeing how this evolves, Montel, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.